show at the showcase, and that persuaded me to actually do this as a lecture this time rather than my normal just jumping around. So we're going to explore rather than roar. And I'm going to go back into my own personal history a tiny bit. Back in the day when I did proper philosophy, the philosopher I actually thought I was probably best at and was quite an expert on really was Spinoza. And this was a seminar I always meant to give. I've condensed it to 5 minutes. On the first book of his magnum opus. He only really writes one book. It's called Ethics. Spinoza was a philosopher in the 17th century. He dies in 1674, or thereabouts. And this is my condensation of book 1 of Ethics. This is the book where he tries to persuade you that reality isn't what you think it is, and that you really ought to be looking for something else. The book is ostensibly about God, and is written as a sequence of geometric Euclidean proofs, but I won't do it that way. And it starts with one of those great gambits in philosophy, a real jumper, a real, are you sure you know what you're talking about moment. What if substance, reality, wasn't what we thought it was? What if it's not about the soul or matter or the mind? What if, you know that feeling you get when you're talking to friends and you feel like it could go on forever and that you're in the middle of everything? Or the feeling you get when you stand by the lip of a roaring ocean? The feeling you get that you're the part of everything? Part of a power that courses through you? Well, what if that was actually reality? I mean it, real reality. What then if reality was not stuff so much as being in the absolute middle of everything? Not a tepid middle, an active middle, a placing yourself in the middle without a centre. What if this was really God? What then? This would be a middle without the possibility of containment. It would be infinite, for any containment would be merely part of it. More than that, it would be inexpressible by any simple dimension, any continuity, because any continuity would be restricted to one dimension. It would be an absolute middle. Call it, if you like, God, understood as a being of absolutely infinite attributes, in whom are contained infinite things in infinite ways. This, then, is the true immanent God. Not a transcendental God, a man with a beard and a hat who lives above it all, who wound up the clockwork of creation. No. This is the indwelling God. The God who is throughout his creation, in me, in you, in the table, in the wall, in the very living air. The God of the absolute middle. It's the first half of book 1. Second half is this. He has 3 further corollaries that follow. First, this then might be why we understand the world in terms of continuity, space and time, or mind and thought. Why? Because in those continuities, we're trying to capture something about this God. If this God is truly in the middle of everything, is eternal, is necessary, he is everywhere. So any attempt to express him would see him as one, would foist on him, if you like, a single identity that is not truly his. For he is greater than his own being, greater than one conception of him. Our notion then of dimension, of singularity, expresses God's eternity. Point 2. But much more critical than that, we've got God's mind wrong. Theologians will try to persuade you that God's mind is just like our mind, but somehow cleverer. But that's just nonsense. Because God must prehend an event, must see it before it happens, while we see it only after it's happened. So his mind, if we conceive it as existing, as theologians would say, would be as like our mind as the barking animal is the dog star. It would share name alone. But even this is wrong. Because God, intellect, all intellect, even the infinite intellect, is just created with the rest. It's just created by the absolute middle, by the being in the part of things that perceives itself as part of its creation. It belongs then to things that are created within nature. Nature naturata, not nature naturans. But do you not see what follows? God does not understand things before they happen. He understands them in the happening, in the action. When you have a new idea, a new thought, perhaps one that has never been had before, it is not just you that has it. It is in you, through you, coursing through the excitement of the idea. God sees and feels and thinks. 3. We depend then upon our God, not just for our essence, our ability to be in the middle of everything, but also our very existence. Riveting together our body, riveting together a single creation, so that we are all caught up in the same system of echoes, reverberations, each in each other's lives, each throughout each other's bodies. This, then, is the opening gambit of what Spinoza will call that path, so difficult to follow, as excellent as it is rare, as it is strange.